Sox in the basement.
Snow is falling. The Bears are good. Sox in the basement in the middle of the offseason. We're all waiting to see what the White Sox do first. We're going to do some listener mail, my friend. There's some great comments in there. We're going to go through some of the YouTube comments to kind of get the discussion going as we're looking at a White Sox offseason. There's something very interesting, a little throwaway line that Scott Merkin put in his most recent article that I want to call attention to, because I love when writers do these little things to signify how they actually feel. And he works for MLB.com, so he's got to be very, very careful. But I read something, and I want to make sure that I point it out on this show. Before we get into any of it, though, I got to tell you this story. I love talking baseball. I love talking White Sox, but I got to tell you this story. So for the last I don't know, about 3, almost 4 weeks, I've been seeing this woman, right? Single dad. All right. I don't date very often. I think the last time that I went on more than 2 dates with somebody was 7-8 months ago. It's been I'm a very selective dater. I'm very busy. I've got 3 kids, and I don't put up with BS. I'm that guy. The moment the red flag pops up, I go, we're done. And I'm out the door, Ed. I'd rather have my peace at 48 years old. I'd rather be peaceful and happy. And one day, maybe there'll be somebody else who's peaceful and happy with me. Or I'll just get to talk about these experiences on the podcast. It's great content. So anyway, I decided last night over dinner, that was the last dinner. I was like, we're going to let this one fizzle. And I got to describe this to you. First of all, you have to understand, the person I was going out with, this woman I was going out with, first of all, more than a decade younger than me. And I was way out over my skis, and I could not figure out why she was going out with me. All right. She, when I went to the hostess stand last night with her, she had been running late. And the hostess knew my date was arriving from someplace else, so we were meeting there. And she knew that we were running late on our reservation. So when I walked up to the hostess stand with her, the hostess looks at me and goes, yes. And I said, we're ready to be seated now. And then the hostess looked at her and said, and how can I help you? Because the hostess did not believe that I could pull her.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, a couple inches taller than me in her heels, right? Looks like she was probably a model in Europe. She has a foreign accent. I'm not going to give away too much about her. But this was somebody I had to sit there sometimes at dinner. I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get it, but she seems to like me, right? All right. But I had to put the brakes on it because there were some red flags. And it was interesting. It was interesting. I asked her what she would like to do for future dates. And I just want to give you the 3 suggestions that were given to me, because I think this will explain why I'm once again 100% single. And we're letting this one go. The first thing she suggested was, and again, this is somebody who just moved to this country a few years ago, she would like to go to a gun range and learn how to shoot. Now, I get that. If you're not from this country, it might be something that's intriguing to you. Fine.
I've heard it's fun. Right. I don't do it a lot myself. So
right. The second thing that she thought would be a fun date is if we took flying lessons, because she wanted to learn how to fly a small plane. I'm not joking about this.
Okay.
Right.
I mean, that sounds like a longer term couples plan.
It seems that way, right? That's a little pricey.
Not a date type of thing.
That's a little pricey, right? I was we're going to do that. I don't know.
That's not taking a cooking class where you're going to learn how to make, ravioli one night.
Right. I run Sox in the basement, but I don't make that kind of money. But okay.
Yeah,
fine.
not piloting money.
The third thing she wanted to do.
Yeah.
She wanted to take one of those helicopter tours of famous downtown buildings in Chicago. And immediately I was like, wait a minute, she sounds like a terrorist.
Wow. I mean, that's...
I mean, this
terrorism is the biggest red flag you can have in dating, I think.
This gave me, there were a group of guys running around doing this, summer of 2001, if I remember right. If I remember my history. There were a bunch of them doing the exact same thing. This felt like you talk about red flags. Sometimes you're like, she's a little possessive. Or she gets jealous a little bit too much, right? Or she likes to play games. This was international terrorists using me as cover. That's what this felt like. And I was like, I think we're going to let this one go.
Yeah, I mean, you're not international terrorist.
No, look,
You're really...
Look, younger Chris would have been used by the international spy. He'd been like, I'm okay with it.
Right.
I'll be the dumb American guy that you use for cover as you try to unravel our government and start some stuff. Like, I mean, I'd be okay with it. She's hot. I'd put up with it, right? If I were in my 20s, I'd do that. 48, I'm a little too old for international terrorism, even the possibility of it. And I was like,
I mean, yeah, we are at the age, you and I, when most James Bonds retire.
Right.
Okay.
Like, it would have been exciting in your 20s. You'd be like, it's like a Bond villain. This is fun. Yeah. This is fun. She may kill me at some point and then, use my car for some devious act or something against our country. But it'd be a fun ride. Like, you consider it when you were in your 20s, right? 48, probably
You'd have
not.
to think about it. Yeah, 48.
I can't bring myself to do it. I want to bring up the Scott Merkin thing, though. He wrote an article based off all the quotes that we did on the last episode where we were talking about Chris Getz and his signals for free agency and the things he was considering doing and not doing, and where we deduced, I think correctly, that Jerry Reinsdorf is going to be cheap this year, and he's put his general manager in a bad position because he can't really add very much. And you may see some 1-year deals, but I don't know. At this stage, they should be doing more. And so Scott Merkin, who works for MLB.com, and who had all these quotes that everybody else built their stories off of, he writes the corresponding article up on the White Sox website. And there is a throwaway line. It's actually, I'll give you the whole paragraph, but it warmed my heart to see the way that Merck wrote this. Here it is. But rebuilds don't become playoff contenders or champions without adding impact veterans to that core. Those additions will come from free agency or via trade. And if the patient White Sox fans had their way, they would start in earnest this offseason. This is Merck's two lines thrown into this article about what he learned from Chris Getz and what the offseason was looking like. And I'm going to tell you something right now. I read that as he even agrees. It's not, he could have written impatient White Sox fans, right? He could have said the impatient ones want to start right now. He could have been preaching patience. But no, the guy who's covering the team is saying the patient ones think you should be adding right now. He telegraphed that in the article, and I love him for it. That's why I bring him on the show.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but he's right. How much more patient can White Sox fans be with when the youth gets here, I mean, I understand Braden Montgomery is going to come up and he's going to have an opportunity the way, Teal and Caro and Colson Montgomery, and all these guys had this year to make an impact and make a splash and become, the face of the franchise and all-star, all that stuff. But it's a little ridiculous if you're a White Sox fan to sit here and say, just because we're building around young guys doesn't mean that this team can't have a middle of the road payroll, a middle of the MLB payroll. I don't even know that White Sox fans have to sit here and clamor for Jerry to be the Dodgers or the Mets, because that doesn't always work either. I mean, it does for the Dodgers because they can buy everything, but for other teams with high payrolls, sometimes it doesn't pan out. Sometimes those impact players don't pan out in their long-term contracts. You got to be smart about it, and you got to trust that your general manager knows who he's bringing in, why he's bringing them in, and that these are guys that are going to continue on with the success that makes them worth a bigger contract. But at the end of the day, this team should be somewhere comfortably in the middle of the payroll pack, in the MLB. And if you do that, and Chris Getz is smart, he might be able to build a team that is contender-ish, can contend for a division, maybe not a World Series championship, but can be something impactful and something interesting to watch at least, if he's smart about his moves. And he might be able to do it without actually spending what Jerry would limit him to. But no, instead, as a patient White Sox fan, we have to sit there and say, geez, I hope these young guys don't get mired in slumps. I hope there are no sophomore slumps that they cannot dig their way out of. I hope this coaching staff is good enough to keep these guys on the straight and narrow and have their heads on straight as they go through what is going to be some tumultuous times in their young major league careers, because it happens to every young player. And that the next couple of waves of young guys that come up behind them are going to be as successful as what we've seen so far, to the point where we can build a team in a couple of years that has a bunch of pre-arb or arbitration eligible players that are actual impact players, and that amongst them you can find a guy that is more than impactful, that is an actual all-star and somebody that legitimately people have to game plan around, so that you have an opportunity to have that star power, have that guy that can rise to the occasion and help you win those extra few ball games that you need to win in order to go deeper into the playoffs. Because when you get to the playoffs, sometimes that star power helps. It's when Colson Montgomery, if he's going to be that guy, has got to be the guy that steps up and hits the big Freddie Freeman-esque home run.
Here's the thing. The White Sox fans have been lied to now for well over a decade about the idea that the only way...
Well over 40 years.
Well, yes, but for the last decade, this team has really tried to push on you the idea that the only way you'll ever win anything is if you tear everything down to the studs and don't compete for 4 or 5 years. But don't worry, we'll catch lightning in a bottle and it'll all pay off. And we all know that isn't true. And the idea that you can't in a major market like Chicago, where the fan base will show up if your team is good. I mean, look at the people that show up now when your team is bad. Your own marketing that talks about the better at the ballpark thing and all the different tailgates and everything else like that shows there is a fan base that's hungry to be out at the ballpark, and that you have the potential to fill that stadium and get more of a buzz for your team. But you continue to lie and say that we have to be terrible right up until the moment where we're just going to turn it on and be good. So trust us through years and years of being bad. And that is just a front to make an excuse for an owner who is cheap, doesn't want to win, has no interest in his fan base, has no interest in his team being competitive, and is covered by a PR machine that just keeps giving you lie after lie after lie over the idea that you either don't spend any money or you're all in and there's no such thing as in between. Imagine if the rest of baseball acted that way, how screwed up Major League Baseball would be. And I guarantee you, Commissioner and the other owners wouldn't allow it. Reinsdorf's allowed to get away with it because he's an outlier, because most teams understand that isn't how you run a Major League Baseball team. Why settle for less when your legs deserve better? Not all compression stockings are created equal when it comes to preventing DVT, easing and managing varicose veins. You got to go to Jobst. Jobst is the brand backed by decades of medical expertise, superior comfort, and proven durability, a wide range of styles and compression levels, and trusted by physicians worldwide. You can get these products at Hyatt Home Medical Equipment as you switch to a new age of life, keeping yourself, mom and dad, grandma and grandpa out of assisted living, making sure that you are living your absolute best life. Hyatt has everything from the big things like stair lifts, ramps, grab bars, lift chairs, and bathroom remodeling to compression socks and CPAP machines. See it all at hhme.com. Make sure you check out Hyatt Home Medical Equipment. I want to get to some of the listener
Chicago
mail.
compression socks would actually be a good name for a Jerry Reinsdorf led team. I mean, they're barely just holding things together as it is, and it's lying to your circulatory system to a certain degree. Okay.
I guess it's true. I think all of that is true.
Yeah.
We're going to do listener mail because besides talking about Jerry and the fact that he will never change, and that's all just a bunch of bunk, as I would say to my kids. The idea that you don't spend any money until the very end and it's all going to work out. How many bad rebuilds do we have to watch before people stop believing that? And there's still people that believe that you have to do it this way. And it's ridiculous to me. You can build a team, you can put young players in there, and then you can put a couple of other guys around it, and you can be middle of the road competitive while those guys grow, and they learn how to win, and they learn how to win close games, and they develop, and the team develops more naturally than the idea of we're just going to suck and give it bats to these young guys, and then that one off season, we're just going to go out and spend money and sign long-term deals. And the guys we need will not only be willing to sign with our team, take the money we're offering because we're not going to offer top dollar, but every single position that we need will be available for us to purchase, and we will complete each one of those free agent signings perfectly within the first month of that preseason, of that offseason, so that we can immediately go and compete the very next year. Now, if you believe that, I got a beautiful international terrorist that wants to use you as a front. I got her number. I'll give it to you because you're gullible. All right, let's get into it.
Yeah, none of that.
I can't do terrorism. I can't even do the potential of it. I mean, There's more out there. You got the apps, you got everything else. I'll find another girl. Just one that I don't feel like is going to use me for some sort of event that's going to end up on every news channel around the world. Let's go to some of these listener mails. Phil says, "Hey guys, love the show. Easily my favorite podcast every week. Been listening for a year now. Grew up in Northwest Indiana, but live in Hawaii. Man, man. I want your life,
lucky guy.
Phil.
Yeah, no kidding.
Phil, can I come out and visit?
Really.
I mean, seriously, I don't even want to read the rest of it. I kind of dislike him at this point. He went from Northwest Indiana to Hawaii. We all should be able to do that.
That is an upgrade and a half.
Yeah, so he points out he doesn't get to talk much Sox, so that's why he listens to us for our educated, mostly anyways, and engaging show. He must be talking about you. Each and every time.
He's dating the terrorist.
He says that, I'm not anymore. He says that it has a very Dan Patrick Show vibe. I dig that.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I mean, look, I read this email before we came on the show. I've seen all these already, and when he said that, I was like, that's awesome, because you remember when I started doing radio, I talked really fast. I still do it sometimes when I'm excited. Like when I get excited,
yes, when you get excited, you do hit the fast forward button just a touch.
Right.
But
I mean, that the story about like the fact that she literally wanted to scout buildings, learn how to fly, and carry firearms, then those were date nights ideas. Like that's a true story, because you could hear how quick my voice gets when I do it. I always wanted to do the Dan Patrick like chill thing. Yeah. Where it's he just takes a break and he takes a sip. He just sips something and there's just dead air. I have such a hard time with that. Right? Like just taking
no, because our era we were told there's no dead air, because dead air means click. That's what it means,
right. But I mean, I do dig that. I always tell myself, like, I want to slow down. By the way,
here, try it out.
No, I'm not trying it. I'm going to finish the rest of his thing. He feels like listening to the show is sitting around talking with the boys. Aloha, go Sox, and F Jerry. Although he did spell it out all the way. And I would like all listener mail from now on to end with that.
Aloha and F Jerry.
It could be Aloha and F Jerry would be great. Like start it off or end it that way, right? Like what the Q101 morning show goes like ahoy, right?
Yeah.
Mancow used to do love your show. I think when you send a message to or leave a voicemail at soxinthebasement.com, because you can leave voicemails at soxinthebasement.com, and you can also write these messages to us. I think you should start or end with Aloha F Jerry. Like I think
we'll co-opt a little Hawaiian culture and integrate it with Southside greetings like F Jerry.
Kevin O'Malley, great name there, Irishman, I believe. Love your show. I've been listening for over 6 years via Fisher, Indiana, also from Beverly. So that makes sense. I was hoping
he wasn't going to say he's in Fisher, Indiana, coming from Honolulu.
That would have been upsetting. Everybody's in Hawaii except for us. But Kevin, this is White Sox fans. I was trying to explain this to somebody the other day. Southside, Bridgeport to Beverly, Northwest Indiana. I mean, they have a big area. Like when I go and I do advertising of the show through Facebook, and I'll put the videos up and I'll sometimes boost them to kind of get them out there to people. That is a huge area of White Sox fans. The idea that this team acts like they don't have the fan base to fill the stadium if they just put out a competitive team in a terrible division is laughable because of how spread out White Sox fans are. But they would come in from Northwest Indiana. They come in from Beverly. They want to see this team succeed. They come in from Lamont, who sponsors our guy, the Sox Nerd, each and every week. And you got to give them a reason to come in. There's
even stragglers from the north side. There's stragglers out west, out in Wisconsin. I mean, they're around.
Yeah,
White Sox fans get around.
This whole idea that you don't build a team.
They're in Hawaii, for Pete's sake.
Until the end is just stupid. And none of you should be buying it. It's crazy to buy it. Anyway, Kevin goes on.
Back to the fine Russian guy, Kevin O'Malley.
Kevin goes on to say, I was all in on the first rebuild that began with trading Chris Sale to Boston for 4 prospects. Was that the first one? I felt like they did one right before that. But anyway, there's been so many of them.
There's been a few.
We all knew how that ended up. And now I'm excited to see what happens with the next rebuild when they traded Crochet to Boston for 4 prospects. The irony is wild on that one. After the implosion of the prior rebuild after the 2020 season, I lost quite a bit of traction with White Sox baseball. I didn't tune in as much. Your podcast has kept me up to speed on everything going on and often makes me laugh. And for that, I thank you. You're welcome. I mean, we suffer so that others don't have to pay close attention to the team. I always feel like that's what this show is. I do.
Yes, we sit here and flog ourselves with White Sox news so that you may remain scar-free and merely listen to the pain and the screaming and just absorb it vicariously.
Well, I've talked to other White Sox podcasters, and some of the podcasts out there do daily, like, this is what happened in the game, right? They're out there like 4 or 5 times a week. And some of them are out there and they're specifically talking about different series. We always try to take a big overview of it because I do feel like that's our fan. Like, our fan loves the team. Our fan really cares deeply about the team, almost to the point where our fan, and I'm not saying this for all that listen to Sox in the Basement, sometimes the team hurts them so much they need a break, right? They go, I need a break from this team. I can't listen to John Schriffen every day. Like, no. I can't watch the lunacy that is this team every day. I love this team. I'm here for this team. They're not bandwagon jumpers. They're not sitting in the front of the wagon, right? They're just they're like, I'm here. I'm reading a book while the wagon goes along. I'll pay more attention to where the wagon is going when they actually start trying. Because if the team isn't trying, why are they trying?
Well, and the wagon is moving so slowly right now that you can pretty much walk alongside the wagon with your phone out and your headphones on and not worry about losing track of the wagon in general. I mean, it's kind of stagnated because, again, we're talking about a team that is in rebuild number 2 of the modern era.
It's got to be 3.
But 3 rebuilds, yeah. And I will say this, the one thing that heartens me about this rebuild versus the last one, the Chris Sale one, is we are not being told that every player that is acquired is a superstar player. And there seems to be at least some willingness on Chris Getz's part to sit there and say some of these guys may not work out. So at least there's something to take heart from.
Sox in the Basement listeners trying to make the most of your money. Give a call to Tom Walsh, your Edward Jones financial advisor. Located on the corner of 111th and Kedzie, but serving the Chicagoland area, Tom has a get-to-know-you approach and a do-the-right-thing attitude. He's been doing this for decades. It's all about knowing your options when you're investing and planning for your retirement. No matter what stage you are at, it costs nothing to check in with Tom. Give Tom Walsh, your Edward Jones financial advisor, a call today, 773-779-0023. Edward Jones, member SIPC. I think that Getz has been put into a position where he has to GM this way. We touched on this on the last show. He has to GM this way. The last guys, Kenny and Rick, would sit there and everybody from the organization would sit there and tell you flat out, the only way to win in Major League Baseball is by not doing anything except just getting at bats for all these young players. And when they all come together at the exact same time, the money will be spent. Remember, that was something that was said constantly.
No, the money will be spent.
The money will be spent. Nobody ever said that the money will be spent was that year it'll be spent, but all the money we're saving over this 4 or 5 years, it's not like it went into a pool. Because if it had gone into a pool, Bryce Harper would have been on the south side. If it had gone into a pool, Manny Machado's best guaranteed contract offer would have actually come from the White Sox, and it wouldn't have been a smoke and mirrors thing to go get him. If that were the case, it wouldn't have mattered if Zach Wheeler's girlfriend or fiance at the time wanted to go to Philadelphia. They would have outbid by enough money that he would have said, tough, we're going to Chicago.
Well, and not only that, but we wouldn't be in a position where Rick and Kenny had to spend the money right then and there because it was never a guarantee that it was coming back. And that's how you end up with the Dallas Keuchels of the world and Craig Kimbrell and these guys that were really, that they were washed and they were not going to be important parts of your team, but you're going to acquire them in some fashion, or you're going to, take a chance on them. The only off-season acquisition that year that made any lick of sense was just Monty Grandal. And, he reverted back to being what he was prior to the one.
But he made a lot of sense at the time. He made a lot of sense at the time.
He made a ton of sense at the time.
Ton of sense at the time. And
if you're going into an off-season where you have that one target and you're sitting there going, we really need a Yasmani Grandal. We need this position, and there's this guy that we really want. And that's where we're pushing our chips into because we're covered pretty well everywhere else. That's fine. It's when you say the money's going to be spent and there's that one offseason where now Chris Getz, instead of Rick and Kenny, Getz gets to spend money. He's going to have to spend on what's there. And to your earlier point, there's never a guarantee in an offseason that you're going to have available to you good enough players to meet your needs.
That's how you get Dallas Keuchel.
Every single position.
That's how you overpay for Dallas Keuchel. Because now you're desperate and you're trying to fill everything at the last minute. I mean, that's what Chris Getz's biggest hurdle is in front of him right now. I mean, he can continue to build things behind the scenes with the right personnel and the right scouting and the right systems. And he can continue to try to set himself up for eventually, hopefully, when Jerry says, here's the money I should be spending on this team every year, I'm finally going to give you some.
Or when Justin Ishbia starts writing the checks.
But the problem is that Chris Getz has to find a way to continue to build his team, because he can't sit there and walk into an offseason suddenly, whether it's the in between the 26 and 27 season or the 27 and 28 season, when he finally gets the green light and he's got to go in and fill 4 or 5 spots in an offseason, because you need players that want to come to Chicago. And I don't think that we have the best buzz amongst Major League Baseball players.
Oh, the White Sox have a terrible reputation.
Right. So you got to convince somebody to come to a place that their friends are going to be like, really? You're going to go to Chicago? So you're going to have to pay top dollar for them. You got to go out and get free agents when you know you can't even work with the biggest agent in sports in Scott Boras. You can't even work with him, right? So his guys are all off the board. And then all of a sudden you're just going to go out and you're going to fill in and you're going to grab 4 or 5 different position players all at the same time and a couple of pitchers, because this is the year you're finally going to go from being a 90-loss team to being a team that wins the division and challenges for the World Series, because you can't do anything in between. So that's really Getz's big challenge this offseason. How does he progress a team in spite of his owner? And I'll go with another comment I was going to get to here, because I want to fold this in. Jim said on the on one of the recent YouTube videos, what are the odds of some bigger one-year contracts? First base, starting pitcher, DH, closer. Could improve by 16 to 20 games. I don't see any long-term deals till 2027 comes along. Listen, that's what they're kind of telling you that he's going to have to do. But again, then what happens is all those one-year deals go away and you're still in the same position. And that's where I think trades are going to come in. I think that's why Chris Getz is going to have to try to find a way to get, I mean, even
controllable players.
Yes, he has to controllable, because he can't go into an offseason when it's finally time to spend the money and have 5, 6, 7 things that need to be filled in free agency. That's an impossible task for everyone. That's hard for the Dodgers, and they have infinite funds, it seems like. It's hard for the Yankees to go into. And these are teams that players want to go and play for. You're a team that's going to knock on the door with 7 other teams that all have a bunch of money and a reputation of not only winning, but taking care of their players better than you do. And you're going to say, look, we're putting something together. We need you and 8 other guys, because all these young guys that have been down there right now playing for us for the last couple of years, they're going to be great finally. You got to trust us. Sign on the dotted line. It's why it didn't work out the last time. So that's the task that Chris Getz is charged with, unfairly, because of the way his owner does business. But this is what he has to do. He has to figure out how to bridge that gap. He has to figure out how to fill some of those holes long term, so that he's not in the season that he's ready to go for it, trying to go out and sign 7 free agents. That's the scariest thing about it, and that's what his offseason is. This offseason, that's what it is.
Well, and when you're filling these one-year deals with the team such as it is, the guys that you're looking at that might be willing to do the 1 year with an option, okay, are guys that have to reprove it, like Rhys Hoskins, right? He's on the outs now, thanks to Andrew Vaughn, of all people. He's on the outs now with Milwaukee after injuries kind of ended his tenure in Philadelphia. But once upon a time, Rhys Hoskins was a really good player. He needs an opportunity. He needs at-bats. He needs a team that's going to play him every day. So the White Sox become something viable for him. But from our standpoint as Sox fans, we're hoping this guy turns back the clock is really what we're doing. And he's not any better than putting Lenyn Sosa there necessarily. He's not any better than giving Tim Elko yet another shot necessarily, because he's not a known quantity. So if you're looking for the known quantities, if you're looking for those guys, the guys that are coming off of a good, solid professional year or better, they're not going to come here unless they didn't get an opportunity elsewhere. That's why we talk about, some of the players that we've talked about where, Adrian Hauser, for example, as a pitcher, came here, had some success here, and then went to Tampa and turned back into Adrian Hauser. So Adrian Hauser might come here to just show, no, that was just Tampa. I'm the real Adrian Hauser, the one that wears the White Sox uniform. That's the guy that you'd be signing long term next year when I have my last opportunity.
He makes the most amount of sense. And the other thing you got to watch for is there a position, a player of need that would help the White Sox that is blocked right now? And an organization would want something the White Sox have that would fill in another way. That's where all those fourth and fifth starters that are controllable come in. If, let's say, there's a first baseman out there sitting in AAA right now that can hit 25 home runs, but the guy who's playing first base for the big club still has 3 more years on his deal, and they don't know where else to put him. Those are the things he's got to look for. He's got to find the Andrew Vaughn out there that they don't want to put in the outfield like we did. That he can go grab and say, I'll take that guy. Yeah. I'll take that guy, right? I'll take that guy who's blocked. You have this guy here because I have a surplus of this. And let's make a switcheroo. Another thing you should look for, the $1,000 guest bounty still going on, brought to you by Cork and Carry at the Park as we get out of here. Remember, same place that you get in the listener mail, that you leave the voicemails at soxandbasement.com. You can contact us with who you'd like to get on the show. If you have a connection that leads to us getting that guest on the show and the fans voted as the best guest of the offseason, you win $1,000, brought to you by Cork and Carry at the Park at the corner of 33rd and Princeton in the shadow of the ballpark. See everything that they're doing this offseason at corkandcarry.com. All right. I got to put this show together and I don't know, maybe change my address and my identity so I don't get hunted down now. I mean, what if this is international terrorism? What? Maybe she is a spy. I'm going to get James Bonded.
You're about to be embroiled in intrigue, so enjoy that. I mean, it's better than the alternative of being bored.
Maybe I should just be a monk. That might be a smarter move.
Well, then you'd have to be a Padres fan.
Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement.
Sox in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found and always on soxinthebasement.com.